Knowledge is power. Education is the key. It must focus. Let me straight the most important things that I heard every day coming up as a young son from my father.
I don't know when you make it your mind to kill yourself, you just stop caring about everything else.
Because as I said, we just so tunnel vision with vengeance that I didn't really care about the consequences at the time.
Then it's a different level of shame when your mom sees this distasteful action.
Back in there, he's young man, we ain't know no better.
I remember speaking to him that you need to stop. If you and this is this gang thing that you ain't, you need to stop. You can dead.
Most people know Clyde Lane. CEO and founder of the Emancipation Roots Experience Organization. He was a man of many talents, man. A jack of many trades, right? That's the phrase I'm looking for, a jack of many trades. But one thing for sure, he was in the field of transport. He used to transport persons physically, and I would even go on to say he would transport persons spiritually, take them on spiritual journeys. A lot of people that had lost their ways in the shootings from the church and stuff. So he would go to them, and he had a group, and he and a group of persons from the church would go and would pray and leave food and food stuff in the person's homes, help them, uplift the spirit. So coming up seeing my father transition from picking up people in one demeanor, from one location and taking it to another location, picking them up and changing the expressions and being there. And like all good men, there's a lot of bad things said about all good men. It's like a balance. It's light to have dark, and good to have evil. So for me, my father, his nickname was One Love. So he was a man that used to spread his love all through the community. Big man, another name that is Giddy Chief. So his character and his persona spoke for himself.
In 1998, I was appointed the director of the government's Commission for Pan-African Affairs, which was this entity in the Prime Minister's office whose mandate was to develop Barbados's relations with the continent of Africa, to develop Pan-Africanism, to help Barbados on the road to Pan-Africanism. So soon after the commission was launched, one either Saturday or Sunday evening, I took my two little daughters to the play park at the Garrison Savannah for them to have a little recreation. The place was deserted with the exception of a gentleman and two little boys around about the same age as my daughters. So I didn't know who this gentleman was. My daughters started to play, and of course the children came together. So my two daughters were playing with obviously what were his two sons. And as the children played, the two fathers came together and we started to converse. So this gentleman introduced himself to me. He told me his name was Clyde Lane, also known as Big Man. And I explained to him who I was and what the Commission for Pan-African Affairs was all about. And, so we went on talking. And at some point, he divulged to me his past. And he explained to me that he had had a very negative past, that he had been one of Barbados's biggest drug lords, I guess one of Barbados's biggest gang leaders. And he had explained to me that he had had a serious career in crime, through which he had amassed great wealth. He had amassed a fleet of taxis, a restaurant, and had amassed great wealth. But that at one point, after he had amassed all this wealth, he had something of a vision. He just had this revelation. It came upon him very strongly that if he did not stop what he was doing, if he did not turn his life around, that the sins that he was committing would be visited upon his children, on his progeny. And he said that vision was so compelling that it caused them to have a kind of Damascus Road visitation and conversion. And he decided that he was going to live a different life. That, in fact, he said that the vision that came upon him actually said to him that he had to give up all that he had amassed from his life of crime, and that he had to live the rest of his life trying to make amends for the damage that he had done to the society, trying to repair the damage that he had done to the society. And if he didn't do that, there would be dire consequences for his own progeny. But then he went on to say to me that he had tried, but he had reached a point of frustration. In fact, he had reached such a point of frustration that he was actually considering abandoning the mission that he was on and going back to a life of crime. Because he said to me that every effort that he made, the society was so unforgiving that people would do everything to frustrate every effort that he was making to turn his life around. And it had gotten to the point now where he was wondering whether was it worth it. The society does not seem to want to accept a new Clyde Lane. Shouldn't I just go back to what I was doing before? And I said to him, and he told me, he gave me some specifics. He told me about this Roots Experience show that he had come up with as a way of making amends to the society, doing something positive for the young people, and that it was being subverted and frustrated at every turn. So I said to him, look, no, you cannot give up the mission you're on. You cannot go back to a life of crime. I told him about the Commission for Pan-African Affairs, and I said, if nobody else will help you, the Commission for Pan-African Affairs will help. Come in to see me at the Commission. We will help to sponsor your show, and we will give you the support that you need. And so, you know, we ended that encounter on that very happy ending. And he did follow up.
He provided a platform by giving Barbados Emancipation Roots experience. And I would say this, we are not one, and this is something I got for him. We don't do it for the trophies.
True to my promise, we said, look, we will give you sponsorship, and we will help to promote this very positive show. You know, this was a show that brought young people together, brought them together to learn about Africa, and to do a show that expressed Africa, that uplifted Africa, the beauty and the majesty of Africa's civilization. And it was a show that in which he was able to mentor young people. In fact, I would say that this show was the model that the parish independent show subsequently picked up on and followed. So it was that type of experience in which he was actually nurturing young people and helping them to connect with the community and to do positive things in the community, and then on the night of the show to express the majesty and the beauty of Africa.
You know, for me, I was at University of West Indies studying, And they have this rule, you know, don't take your phone, this and that. There are some rules that apply, but I broke the rule at that time. I only saw my mom calling me, because once it's family, I can always answer regardless where you are. And I took out the phone and I answered, and my mom said, what happened? I said, you're in the exam. I can call you back, but I heard the voice, you know your family. And I walk out the exam. And I have a brethren, he was in the exam with me, John Paul. You know, he do camera work, JP, HP. And JP, he took me, he drove me at the hospital because I didn't have transportation at the time. And we just received call that my father had a stroke. After seeing him in that state and seeing his body start deteriorate, seeing him fight that stroke, the doctor sent him home saying, you know, half of his brain like sap. You know, he ain't getting beaten. We give 3 months remorse. My father lived for 2 more years and son. Fight, went in the gym, cut, drive. The only thing he couldn't do properly and we was getting there was speech because we had the we was doing this speech therapy. You see, going through them emotions really made me cherish every moment, every second because we was good 1 minute, next minute, bam, just like that.
After he had spent many years doing such good work to help to redeem himself, he got a terrible stroke. He got a terrible stroke, and by then he was in his 50s, and he had a very unfortunate experience in the public health system of Barbados. In fact, I would say, and I should say not me, but I was able to intervene in his situation and to get a private doctor to help him. And that private doctor explained to me that the system had left him to die. And so it left me to wonder, is this again another example of the system being so unforgiving? So the way in which he was treated, he was not treated as a man in his 50s suffering from a stroke should be treated. He was treated as if he was a much older person with no hope of recovery and basically left to die. Fortunately, we were able to get a private doctor and to get the intervention of a number of private therapists to help him, and he recovered from the stroke. And it was not surprising because he was big man Clyde Lane. He was physically a very powerful human being. But I want to say that this was a man who impressed me tremendously. He had the honesty to admit all of the wrong he had done to the society, all the harm he had caused, and through that vision that he received, he did in fact turn his life around. Not only, and he tried to help the society not only through working with young people in the Roots Experience Show. It was eventually called the Emancipation Roots Experience Show, and we started to hold it on Emancipation Day or very close to Emancipation Day. But that was one example of the good works he was doing. But he also became a member of the Sons of God Spiritual Baptist Church. In fact, I have a photograph of him here in his church regalia. He became a very devoted member of the church, extremely devoted to Archbishop Granville Williams.
So it was a sad time, and for me, some people don't deal with grief and sadness, you know, in certain ways. For me, I turned my sadness into darkness, you know. So it put me in a dark place, and every time I get too dark, I will always see a bit of light. And when I look close into the light, it was rules and structures and, you know, ways of living that my father had left for me. So I will always tell persons, my father left for me something that money can't buy. And it's what he said at the beginning, knowledge. And that's why I do what I do live how I live, I am who I am today. So let me rewind to 3 years ago. I received a phone call, the Ministry Division of Culture. They asked for Roots Experience to put on a showcase. Within a month time, that was my timeline, I put on the showcase. The theme of the show for that year was reflections, because I wanted to reflect not only on the person Clyde was, which is my dad, right? But he was the father of this whole African thing. He is one who would make people aware of the African attire, right? And to go even further back, when I was in primary school, people would laugh at me. You know, every so-called Black History Month is February. You know, all the parents that laugh at me, children that laugh at me when I was going to school, who got 4 and 5 children, got little 4 and 5 African outfits. And I remember this one particular girl, I only saw her for all this time last year with 3 children. And she and the 3 children dressed in African clothes. And I rolled on my window and said, listen, them is some nice pajamas. And she started to laugh and she said, yo, if it wasn't for your father with this African thing, we didn't get no nothing about that, so. And these African clothes look so sweet, they look so royal. So I mean, like, yeah, and Sizzler, he has some of royalty, you know? We lost our identity, so not straying away from what we were saying. But them is points that met me, you know? Them is like states to help hold on what he's saying, you know? Proof. When we did the show, Reflections, we reflected on what Clyde and the past shows. And they had some old footage and they put it together. So a person saw not only Clyde, but their family members in the audience, persons that didn't see that passed on for years. Persons crying in Golden Square. And they say, you know what? I like to evolve. For the second year, we came to Daphne Hackett Theatre and we did Dreams of the Ancestors. So in my life, he's the ancestor and this is his dream, to see the show still be going on in this present time. To see more people aware of the African, more aware the African is, you know, more African aware, more self-cultured, you know, have a way of finding the roots, or real roots experience. We want to be more grounded, you want people to know the roots, you know, have a more sense and idea of where they came from, you know, learn something. So our mission statement, edutainment, to educate and educate and entertain. And we had to show Dreams of the Ancestors and persons who ain't hear Clyde's voice for so long. So we put together a video, you know, and we brought his footage, brought back his voice from some of the clips, and we put it on stage. We made a phone call, and it was like legacy, cause it's my son, and everyone saying that my son is Clyde Combat. This is my dad here, you know. This is the reason why I wanted to tattoo something that people could see. I say I can't put it on my back because I don't want to be a back, you know? So yeah, so I put it here, man, as a reminder for me too. For anytime I go to use this hand to do anything wrong, you know, I make sure I go try to do right by my father, you know? Yeah, this is one left hand. Well, you know, we come from a whole group of things, so like I said, knowledge is power. Education is the key. You know, time is the master. I know those something like my dad said, but for me, my son will tell you that I will always tell him, I like to be short, effective, and simple. Focus. 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 If you do not focus, right, a lot of mistakes will be made and you can't correct them. A man that's correct his mistakes. These are my things. So my saying to my son, he will always say, my father will always say, focus. Waste time can never be regained. Time is the master. You know, I passed him on from my dad to him. Right, so even like, I told you that my dad was a transporter. We waiting for my dad to come pick up me and my brother to take us to school, you know? This is one of my favorite pictures because I know I matched photos back in the day with me in primary school, you know? I always say a man is look nice, you know, a person look nice in all white. And I like to go in all white. And when I saw this picture, right, I said I know see where he get it from. You know, don't mind the looks no what. You know when it's time. He was always a man of class and he was a man on a mission. you know. And he always embraced his roots and his culture. And this is my favorite picture of my father all the time. You see this picture? This is my favorite photo of him. And you see this? I feel this picture here, this one speaks volumes. Because this was after one of the Emancipation Roots experience shows. I think this was 1994, I think I'm about 3 years old here, you know? And look, we here now and we still here. That's all I can say. When he had the restaurant, cooking is one of our attributes, so I like to cook, you know? Everyone down know that. Yeah, a man on some chef. The staff inside the restaurant, you know? My grandma, the godmothers, you know how it is. And this is a photo of Deacon's Farm. This is community. This is the love in the community. This is the love that's spread in the community. Huh? Take a good look. In times when crime and violence wasn't at, you know, was at low. There's communities that people coming out and doing things in the community. This picture speaks volumes also. For you think he embraces African roots, anytime he go anywhere, he gets dressed as the chief. African attire, the best, finest of the finest. Authentic, straight from whichever part of Africa he get his hands on someone going there, he can get an outfit from there, you know? This photo on the back of my shirt was designed by myself. In memory of my father, because I wanted to be professional and, you know, I let people know that we still here. So when we got the opportunity to do the show the first year, I just tell myself, you know what? I can take it to another level. We can have our logo, our symbol, you know? And anywhere I go, I will always carry Clyde with me. Whether it be physical or spiritual.
Unfortunately, Clyde spent his last days on a ward in the Queen Elizabeth Hospital. He never actually got out of the hospital, you know, and you know, very sad for me that that he ended that way. But I had the honor of delivering the eulogy at his funeral. And he's a man that I had tremendous respect for, and I think his is an example, a very positive example that the Barbadian people need to know about. Persons involved in lives of crime and criminality, they need to hear the story of Clyde Lane, Clyde Big Man Lane, one of the biggest, most feared, and most quote-unquote successful crime lords in Barbados, who turned his life around and who gave up the life of crime and went on to make a tremendous contribution to this society. I mean, even if I have a little list here of some of the young people that Clyde would have mentored, and I'm talking about outstanding people like Oral Welchman, Calvin Carvalho, Laurie Gaskin, Sherry Ann Zephyrin, Adrian Green, Philip Williams, Sophia Lee, Chantel Jemmett, Andrea Eswick, Edwin Adams. These are young people who were associated with the Roots Experience show and who themselves went on to be great role models and great contributors to the cultural and artistic life of Barbados. And his own son, Ajani. I have a photograph here of Clyde and little Ajani. Clyde in his Emancipation Roots Experience heyday, when he was leading the way, staging these tremendous shows that all of the young persons, they were young then, they're not so young now, but they all had this Emancipation Roots experience. And Ajani has since gone on to grow up to be a fine gentleman, public servant, and he has taken up his father's legacy, and he is now staging the Emancipation Roots experience shows, and he is consciously trying to carry on the legacy of his father, Clyde Big Man Lane.
I don't know, when you make it your mind to kill yourself, you just stop caring about everything else.
Because as I said, we just so tunnel vision with vengeance that I didn't really care about the consequences at the time.
Then it's a different level of shame when your mom sees this distasteful action.
Back in there, he's young man, we ain't know no better.
I remember speaking to him that you need to stop. If you in this gang thing that you ain't need to stop. You can dead.